Easy English with Life Stories. Level 1.
After that day.
My name is Mark. Many years ago, when I was young, it started with rain. The rain was heavy and fast. I sat in my car and looked at the house. My hands were shaking. My heart was loud. I saw a light in the window. I saw my wife. She was with someone. It was a man. I knew him. He was my friend. They were close. They were smiling. I watched and did not move. I could not move. The rain hit the car. My world broke in silence. I wanted to open the door. I wanted to run to the house. I wanted to scream, but I did nothing. I sat there, like a stone. My eyes were open, but my heart was closed. I felt cold inside. I felt pain, but no tears. I watched the window. My body stayed still. The night got dark. The rain did not stop. The picture stayed in my mind. My life was not the same anymore. I did not go home that night. I stayed in the car. I turned off my phone. I closed my eyes, but sleep did not come. I thought about my son. He was 5 years old. He had a small red ball. He loved to laugh. He loved bedtime stories. I thought of his small hands. I thought of his smile. I felt pain in my chest. I did not want to go home. I did not know what to do. In the morning, I went home slowly. My son ran to me. He said,
"Good morning, Daddy."
I picked him up. He was happy. He did not know. He did not see the truth. I looked at my wife. She looked down. We did not speak. The air felt cold. My smile was not real. My hands were heavy. My heart was far away. I wanted to cry, but I did not. I made eggs for my son. He laughed at the shape. He told me about school. He talked about his toy car. I smiled again. I said, "That's great." But my head was full. I could still see the window. I could still see her and him. That picture was strong. It stayed with me. I tried to forget, but I knew I never could. My heart was broken that night. I tried to live like before, but nothing was the same. I woke up early and smiled for my son. I made his lunch and walked him to school. I talked with other parents and said kind words, but inside I was tired. I was acting every day. I was not the same man. My heart felt heavy. I looked okay outside. But inside, I was lost and cold. At work, I sat at my desk and stared at the screen. My boss gave me tasks and I nodded. I did the work, but my mind was far away. I kept seeing their faces. My wife and my friend, their smiles, their eyes, their hands. It played again and again in my head. I wanted to forget, but I could not. I was quiet. I was broken inside. Each night, I came home and played with my son. He showed me his drawings. He told me stories. I smiled at him. I told him, "Good job." I gave him hugs and kissed his head. He gave me love and I gave him all I had, but when he slept, the silence came. The house felt dark. I sat on the floor and stared at nothing. My chest hurt, but I said nothing. Sometimes she tried to talk. She said she was sorry. She cried once. She said it was a mistake, but I could not answer. I listened, but I did not speak. Her words were like wind. They came and went. I did not trust her voice. I did not trust her eyes. I only looked at the wall. My mouth was closed. I felt far away. I felt like I lived in a dream.
One night, I stood in front of the mirror. I looked at my face. I looked tired. My eyes were different. I was not that man from before. I asked myself, what now? I had no answer. I wanted peace. I wanted sleep. I wanted to stop thinking, but the pain was strong. The picture was still there. My life had changed. I could not go back. Days passed, and I kept pretending. I laughed when I had to. I worked when I had to. I spoke when people spoke to me, but I was not really there. I was just moving, just breathing. At night, I sat in the dark. I looked at the ceiling. I listened to the clock. I wanted time to stop. I wanted to run away, but I stayed because of my son. He was my light in those dark days. He came to me with his toys. He told me,
Daddy, play with me.
and I did. I played with him. I smiled for him. I gave him all the love I had. He laughed, and I felt warm. But when he went to bed, the cold came back. My smile faded. The pain returned. The house became quiet again. One morning, I saw them together again. It was by accident. I was driving home from work. I saw them in a cafe. They were sitting close. I felt my chest burn. My hands started to shake. I wanted to walk in. I wanted to shout. But I just drove away. My heart broke again. I felt weak. I felt small. I thought I was healing, but I was not. That night, I could not eat. I sat at the table, looking at my food. My son asked,
Are you okay, Daddy?
I smiled and said yes, but my hands were cold. My stomach felt tight. My wife watched me. She said nothing. I knew she saw my pain, but there were no words left between us, only quiet, only space. I looked at my son. I stayed for him. Later, I walked outside. The air was cold. The sky was full of stars. I sat on the steps. I looked up and breathed slowly. I closed my eyes. I thought of a better life. I thought of a place with no pain. I did not want to hate. I did not want to cry. I wanted peace, but peace felt far. I opened my eyes. The stars looked down. I felt very alone. I started walking every night. I waited for my son to sleep. Then I left the house. I walked through quiet streets. The lights were soft, and the sky was dark. I looked at windows and wondered about other people's lives. Were they happy? Did they smile for real? I felt like a stranger in my own town. Each step was heavy, but I kept going. I walked to stay away from my pain. Sometimes I passed the school. I looked at the small chair through window. I thought of my son sitting there. I thought of his laugh, his smile. He was the only thing keeping me whole. I whispered, thank you to the night sky. Without him, I would fall. I did not know what I was doing, but for him, I got up. For him, I tried to be strong. One evening, my wife left the house. She said she was going out. I said nothing. I just nodded. I sat in the living room with my son. We watched his favorite show. He laughed and held my hand. I smiled, but I felt cold inside. The door closed behind her. I listened to the sound. It felt like a cut. I knew where she was going. I tried not to care, but I did. I thought about leaving. I thought about taking my son and going far away. A place where no one knew us. A place with new air, new streets, new morning. But I had no plan. I had no money. I had only pain and dreams. I sat alone in the kitchen that night. I wrote down thoughts on paper. I crossed them out. I wrote again. Nothing made sense anymore. The next morning, I looked at myself again. My beard was longer. My eyes were tired. I touched my face and asked, "Who am I now?" I was not just a father. I was a man who saw too much. A man who lost something deep. I made my son breakfast. He smiled and said,
I love you, Daddy.
I hugged him tight. That was the only thing that still felt real. Winter came. The days were short and the nights felt longer. Cold air came through the windows. I wrapped my son in warm clothes and held his hand tightly. We walked to school in silence. He kicked small rocks and smiled at the snow. I smiled too, but it was weak. My smiles were tired now. I missed the old days. I missed who I used to be. I missed feeling alive. My wife was still in the house, but she was far. We spoke only about simple things.
Dinner is ready. He needs help with homework.
We lived like strangers. Her voice was soft, but empty. I stopped asking where she went. I stopped caring about her lies. My heart had closed its door. I looked at her and felt nothing. That scared me the most, feeling nothing at all. One night, I found a picture. It was old. It was from a summer trip. We were by the sea, holding our son between us. We looked happy. I stared at the photo for a long time. I touched the faces. I remembered that day. The sun, the waves, the laughs. It felt like someone else's life. I put the photo in a drawer. I didn't want to see it again. Later that week, my son asked,
Why don't you smile like before?
His question hit me hard. I hugged him close and said, I'm just tired. He looked into my eyes for a long time. Then he nodded. He didn't ask again. That night, I cried quietly in the bathroom. I covered my mouth with a towel. I didn't want him to hear. I didn't want him to know how broken I was. After that, I tried harder for him. I read him more books. I cooked his favorite meals. I walked him to the park. I watched him run and laugh. I told him stories. I said, I love you, every night. But the pain stayed with me. It sat in my chest like a heavy stone. I was living two lives. One for him, and one alone inside my heart. I remember the day I made my choice. The sky was gray, and the house was quiet. I sat alone in the kitchen, while my son was still asleep. My tea sat and touched on the table. I looked at the walls, the photos, the silence around me. I felt tired, in a deep way. I could not stay in that house any longer. I needed to leave before I lost myself, completely. I wrote a short note, and placed it near the window. I packed a few clothes, and my son's favorite book. I walked to his room, and kissed his forehead. He didn't wake up. I whispered, I love you, and held his small hand for a moment. Then, I opened the door slowly. The cold air touched my face. I looked back one last time, then stepped into the street. We moved into a small room on the edge of town. It was not much, but it was ours. My son looked around and asked,
Is Mommy coming?
I said, not now. He nodded and hugged me. That night, I sat beside him until he fell asleep. I cried, but it felt different. I was still broken. But something inside me was staring to breathe again. Life became simple. I took him to school in the morning. I worked at a small store nearby. We ate dinner together, told stories, and laughed a little. The pain was still in my chest, but it didn't speak as loud. I looked at my son and felt something warm. I was not the same man, but I was still his father. That gave me the strength to go on.
The easy life. When I was young, I thought life was simple. My father had money, so I did not worry. I did not study much. I did not work. I had everything I wanted. If I saw something nice, I asked my father, and he bought it for me. My friends told me to plan for the future, but I laughed. Why should I work? Why should I worry? My father had money, and that was enough. Every morning, I woke up late. I had breakfast in bed. I watched TV for hours. Sometimes, I went out with friends. We ate at the best restaurants. We wore expensive clothes. We drove fast cars. Life was easy and fun. I thought it would always be like this. I never thought about money. I never thought about work. When I wanted to travel, I traveled. When I wanted new shoes, I bought them. When I wanted new phone, I got the best one. My father paid for everything. I did not think about how hard he worked. I did not ask him about his business. I only enjoyed my life. I only thought about today. I never thought about tomorrow. One day, my father called me. He looked serious. He told me to sit down, he said.
Son, we need to talk.
I smiled and said, "Yes, Father," but his face did not change. He was not happy. He was not joking. I felt a little nervous, but I did not know why. My father was always kind. He never said no to me, but that day, something was different. He took a deep breath and looked at me.
You are not a child anymore.
He said,
You must think about your future.
I laughed and said, Father, I have everything I need. He shook his head.
No, my son. You have everything because I work hard, but life is not always easy. One day, things may change.
I did not understand. I thought he was worrying for no reason. I smiled and said, Do not worry, Father. Nothing will change. He did not smile back. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said,
We will see.
I did not know what he meant. I thought he was just in a bad mood. I stood up and left the room. I did not think about his words. I went out with my friends. I laughed. I spent money. I did not know that my life was about to change. The next morning, I woke up late. As always, I stretched and picked up my phone. There were many messages from my friends. They wanted to go out. I smiled and got ready. I wore my best clothes, sprayed expensive perfume, and walked downstairs. But when I reached the living room, I saw my father again. He was waiting for me. His face was serious.
Sit down.
He said. I sighed and sat. Father, I have plans, I said. He did not care. He looked straight at me.
You are not a boy anymore.
He said.
You must learn about life.
I rolled my eyes. Father, I know about life, I said.
He shook his head.
No, you do not.
He said. Then he said something strange.
Come with me.
I followed him outside. He walked to his car. I did not know where we were going. He did not say a word. I sat next to him, confused. He started driving. The city looked different that morning. I saw people walking fast. I saw workers cleaning the streets. I saw men selling food on the side of the road. I never looked at these things before. That day, I noticed. After some time, my father stopped the car. We were in part of the city I had never visited. The buildings were old. The streets were not clean. People looked tired. My father pointed at a man selling fruit.
Look at him.
He said,
He walks up at dawn. He works all day. He does not rest. He does not complain. He works to feed his family.
I did not say anything. Then my father showed me a small shop. Inside, an old woman was sewing clothes.
She has been working for 40 years.
He said,
She does not have much money, but she works hard every day.
I looked at the woman. She was tired, but she did not stop. She kept working. I had never seen people like this before. I had never thought about them. My father turned to Meadow.
You see now,
He asked,
life is not easy for everyone. Some people work hard every day. But you, my son, have never worked a single day.
I felt strange. I wanted to say something, but I did not know what to say. I looked away. For the first time in my life, I felt small. I felt different. Something inside me had changed. We got back into the car. My father did not speak. He just drove. I sat quietly, thinking. The images of the man selling fruit and the woman sewing clothes are staying in my mind. I had never thought about people like them. I had never thought about work. My life was easy. But now, I felt different. I did not know why. After some time, my father stopped the car again. This time, we were in front of a large building. It was his office. I had been there before, but I never stayed long. I only visited when I needed money. My father got out.
Come.
He said. I followed him inside. The office was busy. People were walking fast. Phones were ringing. Papers were everywhere. My father took me to his office. He sat down and looked at me.
Do you know what I do every day?
He asked. I shrugged. You work, I said. He nodded.
Yes, but do you know how hard I work?
I stayed quiet. He continued.
I wake up early. I make big decisions. I solve problems. I take care of this company. And I do all of this for you.
I looked around the office. I saw tired workers. Some were writing reports. Some were making calls. Some looked stressed. I never thought about these things before. I only saw the money my father gave me. I never saw how he earned it. I felt something strange inside me. It was guilt. Then my father handed me a small notebook.
From tomorrow, you will work here.
He said. I laughed.
Me? Work? I asked.
He did not laugh.
Yes,
He said.
you will start from the bottom. You will learn.
I was shocked, but I don't need to work. I said. My father shook his head.
You do, because one day, I will not be here. And then, what will you do?
I did not know what to say. I had never thought about life without my father. I had never thought about the future. I had never thought about anything except my own comfort. But now, I had no choice. My father had decided tomorrow my life would change. Tomorrow I would start working for the first time in my life. The next morning, I woke up early. It felt strange. I was used to sleeping late, but now I had to work. I got dressed and went downstairs. My father was waiting for me. He gave me a small bag.
Your lunch.
He said. I looked at him in surprise.
Lunch?
Can't I eat at a restaurant? I asked.
He shook his head.
Workers bring their own lunch.
He said.
And today you are a worker.
We left the house and drove to his office. When we arrived, he did not take me to his big office. Instead, he took me to a small room. There were many desks. People were working on computers. A man came to us. He was wearing glasses and looked serious.
This is Mr. William.
My father said.
You will work under him.
Then he left. Mr. William looked at me.
Come with me.
He said. He walked fast. I followed him. He gave me a chair and a small desk.
You will check these papers.
He said. He put a big stack of papers in front of me.
Look at the numbers. Find mistakes. Mark them.
I stared at the papers. There were so many. All of them? I asked. Mr. William nodded.
Yes, and work fast.
I sat down and started. At first, it seemed easy. But after an hour, my head hurt. The numbers looked the same. My eyes felt tired. I wanted to stop, but I couldn't. Everyone around me was working. Nobody was resting. Nobody was talking. It was not like my old life. This was different. This was work. By lunchtime, I was exhausted. I opened my lunch bag. It was simple food, no fancy dishes, no expensive drinks. I ate quietly. I watched the other workers. They ate quickly. Then they went back to work. No long breaks, no fun conversations. Just work. I missed my old life. I missed my freedom. But I also felt something new. I felt respect. These people worked hard every day. And now I was one of them. The afternoon was even harder. My back hurt from sitting. My hands were tired from writing. I wanted to stop. I wanted to go home. But I couldn't. Mr. William came to my desk. He checked my work. He found mistakes.
Do it again, he said.
I sighed. I wanted to argue, but I didn't. I just nodded and started again. When the day finally ended, I felt different. I was tired, but something inside me had changed. For the first time, I understood how hard people worked. For the first time, I understood that money did not come easily. As I walked out of the office, I saw my father waiting for me. He did not ask me how my day was. He only smiled. And for the first time in my life, I smiled back, not because life was easy, but because I had earned that smile. The next day, I woke up early again. My body was sore. My hands were stiff. I never felt this way before.
I wanted to stay in bed, but I couldn't. I had work to do. I got dressed and went downstairs.
My father was already at the table. He looked at me and nodded.
Good.
He said. That was all, but it felt different. It felt like he was proud. When I arrived at the office, Mr. William was waiting. He did not smile.
You were slow yesterday.
He said.
Today, work faster.
I wanted to say something, but I couldn't. I just sat down and started. The papers were in front of me again. The numbers were waiting. My head still hurt. My back still ached, but I worked. I did not stop. By noon, I finished my task. Mr. William checked my work. He found fewer mistakes.
Better.
He said just one word, but it felt good. It felt better than buying something expensive. It felt better than wasting time with friends. It felt like I had done something real. I never felt this before. I never cared about work before, but now I did. During lunch, I sat with other workers. They talked about their families. They talked about their problems. They laughed, they ate fast, and went back to work. I listened to them. I never thought about people like them before. I never thought about what they went through, but now I was sitting with them. I was one of them. The afternoon was hard. Mr. William gave me more work.
Let's see if you can handle this.
He said. I wanted to complain, but I didn't. I just nodded. I focused, I worked, the hours passed, my back hurt. My hands ached, but I kept going. I wanted to prove that I could do this. I wanted to prove it to myself. At the end of the day, Mr. William looked at me. He did not smile, but he said,
Not bad.
just 2 words, but they meant a lot. I nodded and left the office. My father was waiting outside. He looked at me.
Tired?
He asked. I nodded. He smiled.
Good.
He said. I understood now. I understood why he made me do this, and for the first time, I did not want to run away from work. I wanted to learn more. Days passed, then weeks, then months. I worked every day. At first, it was hard. My body hurt. My mind felt tired, but slowly, I got better. I made fewer mistakes. I worked faster. Mr. Williams still did not smile, but he stopped complaining. Sometimes he even said,
Good job.
Those words felt better than any gift I ever received. I started to understand money. Before, I only spent it. Now, I saw how hard it was to earn. I watched my father work. I saw him make big decisions. I saw him handle problems. I saw him take care of the company. I never respected his work before. But now, I did. He was not just a man with money. He was a man who built something with his own hands. One evening, my father called me to his office. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said,
You have changed.
I did not know what to say. He continued.
At first, you were lazy. You did not care about work. But now you understand.
I nodded. He was right. I was not the same person anymore. I felt different. I felt stronger. Then, my father surprised me. He took out a small key and gave it to me.
This is your office.
He said. I was shocked.
My office?
I asked. He nodded.
You are ready for more responsibility. You have worked hard. Now it is time to take the next step.
I held the key in my hand. It was small, but it felt heavy. It was not just a key, it was trust. The next day, I moved to my new office. It was small, but it was mine. I had my own desk, my own chair, my own work. I was no longer just a worker. I was learning how to lead. It was not easy. I made mistakes. I had bad days. But I did not give up. I kept working. I kept learning. I wanted to be like my father. I wanted to build something of my own. Looking back, I laugh at my old self. I thought life was easy. I thought money was simple. But I was wrong. Life is work. Life is effort. Life is building something with your own hands. My father taught me that, and now I am ready for the future. Not because I have money, but because I have learned how to earn it.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Bye.